Now,
Okay.
there is one other participant in the meeting. The meeting is being recorded.
What's the noise?
I don't know. Turn it down. Is it because we're both on together?
You're talking.
Okay, turn yours off. Do you want to use mine so you know how to do it?
Turn it off?
Yeah,
Okay,
because we can do ours together.
okay.
There you are, Deb. How can you still be on there?
Is it me or you? It's you. No, we're in the. It's you, dear.
Not here. I'm right here. Here you are. Here, sit here. Are we joined now or not?
No, I'm not on it. We're here. I just wanna,
Zoom. Sure, kind. Non-participants. Deb Cambria. I thought you signed off. Oh, there you are over there. No, there's somehow you're still on.
oh, shit. No, I'm on yours. I'm not on this. I'm gonna try again.
You gonna try back yours again? Oh, here we are. There I am. There's Bill Tyne. You don't need to be on there. Look, you're right here.
I don't know. Okay. I'm just gonna be in yours.
Well, you're still up there. See, it says. Nelson, I can't talk. I've got a meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, bye. No, hold on. Are you down in it again? Yeah. Hi, Chris. Did you hear me?
There we go. I unmuted. Hello, Eileen. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me, Chris?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yay.
They have me in it, but
Hello?
You're not on video. You're just on camera. I have Deb Cambria here as well.
hello.
Hello?
You can just come in with me.
Say,
Yeah, shut it off. Yeah. Yeah, just move in. There's Deb.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
So I reviewed the packet really quickly because I just got it. Hopefully I'll be on the next email stream.
I'll make sure you are, Chris. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Thanks.
That's Christine, huh? Oh, she was over on Evans.
I don't know everyone.
Yeah, she Yeah, the oldest historic stone house in Amherst, 75 Evans, the white one. The white one with the blue shutters on Evans, next to the Bloker property.
Okay.
Yeah, where's my pen? Here. Oh, there it is. Thank you much. Those are yours.
Okay. Is that Wally?
That is Dan Ryder.
Okay,
That's William Tyne.
okay.
I'm
That's
here, but I can't see you.
Who's that? Dan?
Yeah.
Yep, hi.
See, you can see up here. You can see participants.
Who we have here?
Right in the names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine just says iPad.
Bill? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can
Yep.
anybody hear me? Good.
Yes.
Yes, we can, Dan.
We had big troubles last night on our Amherst traffic safety Zoom meeting. Okay. Bill, thank you for the photos and the data you sent yesterday. Can't hear you.
Mute.
You're welcome. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the photos you sent yesterday and the data.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Doesn't look like Linda.
Don't tell me it still says Linda on there.
Yes, it does, Wally.
Hello. Let's see, yeah, I've changed that so many times. Guess whose computer this is?
It does.
Linda's.
We have to wait until they start the meeting. I guess they're still waiting for more people. Where's my, these are the people who are on the committee.
I don't have an agenda because I don't see it on the
Won't see it
Williamsville
on the
webpage,
screen.
and I didn't get the email.
Who's this?
This is Christine Hunt. Who's that, Wally?
Yes, Christine, I didn't even see you on the list of appointments or reappointments, so.
Yeah. Did you get that? Judy said she sent it out October 2nd because I did not get the email last week either. I just have a friend of mine is also on the committee, Marilyn Alfies, and she let me know the meeting was moved.
Yeah, after Eileen had emailed me today, I looked at what was on the minutes just to make sure I had everybody noticed, and I didn't see your name, so
Okay.
yeah, my apologies, but I was at work today and didn't even see any of Eileen's emails until late today. So,
Okay. Yeah, Judy, I talked to her on Tuesday and she said she had sent everything out October 2nd. So there's got to be a little confusion. I better check the other committees as well then. Thank you.
You move down there, you two hang out more, and it's not like my phone rings to say, hey, hang out. Whereas when Ian and I would hang out, we'd be like, hey, Joey, what are you up to?
is Nick on yet?
Yeah, I'm here, Wally.
All right, and I'm trying to figure out, Nick, how many people we have so far.
I can't tell.
Right now, there's 9 people. Actually, 10 with
10.
Debbie. Cambria's with me. She's sharing the screen. So
Yeah.
Deb and I are together, but there are other, besides us, it's William Tyne, Dan Ryder, Christine Hunt, Matt Sherry, Wally, Nick Roth, Kevin Brown, and Joe S.
And then a phone number. Who's that? Is that Marilyn that's on her phone?
No, it's me,
No, I
Dan
think
Delano.
Marilyn was not
Oh,
gonna
okay.
participate.
Hey, Dan.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
All right,
So
no, just
Marilyn's
select
not
that.
on yet?
I think we have just about
Oh,
everybody.
no.
Okay.
Marilyn Alphys had eye surgery yesterday and she will not participate today. She
Okay.
sends her regrets.
Okay, then we have 10 participants.
Then I think we have just about everybody save for a representative from the fire department. Is Joe on?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, I see now. All right.
There's
There you are. Hello, Joe.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you this evening?
Great.
All right, I think we have everybody that we're going to have.
Okay. Wally,
Yeah,
do you want me to take the minutes?
if you wouldn't mind, Nick, I deeply appreciate that.
Okay, well, I would ask Wally if possibly after you call the meeting to order, if you could have everybody state their name and spell their last name because we have new faces and just so I get it, the spelling correct, please.
No, that makes a heck of a lot of sense, and I'm going to do that. I'll call the meeting to order right now. And most immediately, we'll do a roll call, so to speak. Yeah. Wally Pacer, Chairman.
Dan Ryder, R-I-D-E-R.
Joe Spino, S-P-I-N-O.
Matt Sherry, S-C-H-E-R-Y.
Dan Delano, D-E-L-A-N-O.
Debbie Cambria, C-A-M-B-R-I-A.
Christine Hunt, H-U-N-T.
Village Trustee Liaison to Traffic and Safety, Eileen Torrey, T-O-R-R-E.
Okay, and Nick Roth, and I believe Captain Brown may be participating by telephone.
I am. Nope.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
thank-
here. Kevin Brown from the police department.
Thank you, Captain. I'm good to go with the roster, Wally. Thank you.
All right. Call a meeting to order then, 7:04. Most immediately, before we even talk about the minutes, I'd like to welcome Debbie Cambria, and I didn't get your first name, Ms. Hunt.
Christine.
Christine, I think, no, I did get it. And Christine Hunt, as well as Maryland Alphas. And I hope I'm saying that correctly, though I understand she's not here tonight. And also Eileen Torrey, our liaison and new trustee. Yeah, welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
And I trust you'll find us to be an interesting group of individuals, to say the least. Yeah, and most of whom are quite knowledgeable in things having to do with traffic and whatever. A couple of members especially so. Yeah, and at some later date, since we seem to have a fairly large calendar tonight, agenda, yeah, maybe we can get to know each other a little bit better and yeah, have a little bit of a background intro, but let's save that for another night and get most immediately to the minutes of our last meeting. I sent them out to everybody, but most immediately to the reappointed members, since they handled that meeting. And I trust you've all looked at the minutes. And are there any corrections, additions, or can I have a motion to accept the minutes as they are?
So moved.
Yeah.
Motion by Dan.
Yeah. Do I have a second?
Sure, second. Matt.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Molly?
Jumping to our.
Can you just clarify what date these minutes are from? I didn't receive them, so are they from the August meeting?
Yeah, I would not expect, candidly, the new members to even chime in.
Yeah.
I was thinking that you'd probably abstain.
I think he sent
Yeah.
them to me.
Good.
I think I might have got-
Yes, absolutely. That was what I was assuming.
I sent them out more as an intro to the new members. Yeah, because the rest of us had received them through the village previously, almost immediately after Nick had put them together. Yeah, but that was the reason they were sent out, Christine. Just to give you an idea also of what has been before the board, on at least one occasion. Yeah, I realize you didn't get anything, and you're again, I'll apologize for it, though. I did not know that you were on this committee until late this afternoon. So yeah, with that, and this may be a little difficult, but I'll try and summarize it as best I can for your benefit, Christine.
No, that's, well, excuse me, that's fine. I just read through them real quickly. They were on the village website.
What, the
minutes from the last meeting?
Okay, no, I wasn't going to get into that. I was going to get into the first substantive matter tonight. And it has to do, and I'm also on the planning board, so when this came before the planning board in I think June or July of last year, some of this came before that board as well. And if I remember correctly, it also did come before, yes, it did come before traffic and safety. The project at Main and North Ellicott, Benderson. Now, with it starting, and they obviously leveled the bank building, what have you there. The main entrances to and from the parking lot will be on the west side, obviously, of North Ellicott. And there is a curb cut also onto Main Street, which will be on the west side of the building. But I think it was this board that recommended no left turn out of that exit onto Main Street.
Or North Ellicott.
Ingress and egress essentially will come onto out of North Ellicott Street. And what Village Board is looking for, and I don't know that Eileen can even comment on this, but is some comment on how we, traffic and safety, feel about eliminating parking on the east side in its entirety of North Ellicott, from Main to at least Swan, or perhaps even Eagle, I think it is.
That's too far.
Yeah,
Go. Yeah. The Swan is fine though.
No parking for Main Street until a telephone pole closest to Swan Street. That's in the letter of last year, June 5th, from Tim Masters.
If you leave the property, the new property, you can't turn left onto North Ellicott anymore, which is good.
Who decided to say there was no parking?
It's still before the
Should be no
Village
parking.
Board, as I understand.
I don't recall it came before this.
No, it didn't come before us. Yeah, we were looking at the curb cut on Main for one.
Right, I remember that.
What?
I remember that, yes.
Yeah. And I think even we had even recommended no curb cut, something akin to that. But
I thought DOT turned them down on a curb cut.
no, they did give them a curb cut, as I understand it.
Okay, because
I'm looking again at what Tim Masters sent out last year and asked us to look at and perhaps comment to the Village Board. I think they're in the middle of the hearing process on whether or not to completely eliminate parking on the east side for safety reasons. Fire department, as Tim's letter that I sent out said, based on discussions regarding ingress and egress from the site, and also discussions with the fire department as to what their equipment would require to achieve proper access. We feel the traffic flow on North Ellicott may be an issue. Currently, it is often difficult to get two cars on the street along with on-street parking due to the width of the street, let alone a garbage truck, fire truck, or school bus. And the new construction could make it worse. Based on these findings, building department is formally requesting the Village Board consider possibility of eliminating street parking on North Ellicott directly east of the parcel on both sides of the street. We recommend this parking zone extend from the corner of Main until the telephone pole closest to Swan. This will allow for better ingress and egress from the entrances from the new structure at 5712 Main, and also allow for proper widths for emergency vehicles. I know planning, we recommended elimination of certain spots close to Main Street on the west side.
Where it is now.
I
There'll
also
be two on
find
Main
this
Street.
ironic, given the fact that we're now doing a parking study, or still looking at parking a little bit. And now we're being asked to eliminate parking.
Does anybody want a visuals? For me anyway, it helps
Can
when
I
I
speak, Wally?
when I look at it. Does anybody want a visual?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
All right, hold on a
please.
sec. Let me see if I can do this.
Thank
Let me
you.
know if this works.
Okay.
You guys got it?
Yes.
Yay.
Okay. When I talk about this type of stuff, I need to see it.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I can't spell the word tech, let alone.
But looking at that, just at the Swan North Ellicott corner, there is a no standing sign along the west side, going from the west side from Swan all the way to Main Street.
This side.
Right.
Always has been.
Yes,
Always has
that's been there.
Yep.
I can attest to, this is Dan Delano, I can attest to, Mike Meeser did approach the village board at one time in a work session about that area. So this is going on 2 fire chiefs now, requesting that upper end anyway. I know there's a couple people that live on North Ellicott there, but I'm across from it, so I see it coming out of South Ellicott. I see it all the time.
Mm-mm. Oh, yeah.
There are businesses there, but they seem to have enough parking.
You can't really.
How many? Let me ask you, just to kind of surmise this. How many spots would be lost from Main Street to that telephone pole? I don't have a visual, but I can picture it in my head. But how many spots roughly would be lost from Main Street to that telephone pole? And essentially, it's 20 feet from the corner, so keep that in mind. 25 feet, because you can't count that as spots. So the first place you can park to that telephone pole on the east side near Swan.
We're looking at it right now on Google Maps. I don't think it couldn't be more than 6 or 7.
I agree. Not more than that. And I live on North Ellicott.
Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But and is the, now I'm guilty of not having a planning in front of me, but is the curb cut basically where the new one, is that basically going to be where the old one is now?
Good question, Dan.
As I recall, they were doing 2.
There are going to be 2 curb cuts on North Ellicott. One, essentially, it's going to be a loop around the parking lot, if I recall correctly.
What? That's not right.
Make ingress and egress a little easier. So I honestly, I'm pretty sure that's what planning had approved.
So, all right, I have one more question. Sorry for stealing the floor here, but so they're asking us to recommend or explore a no left turn out of onto North Ellicott, heading north, right? out of their parking lot?
No, no.
Oh.
I think that was part of planning board's demands that
Yeah, see?
that the developer put a sign, no left turn.
Let's see how long that lasts.
Okay,
Just-
so
you can't.
Remember reading
Only have
I sent out the minutes from that planning board meeting to give you also a perspective more of the development. And it does mention a little bit about how the parking lot was going to be designed, arranged, and there will be curbing
Well, you're saying the planning board recommended?
on the west side.
okay, my point about the no left turn is that if there is going to be a no left turn, and we don't know if there is yet, correct?
What was approved.
Okay.
Following conditions, number 3, for safety reasons, a no left turn sign will be erected at the egress driveway and onto North Ellicott Street.
So my suggestion then, so since that is approved and that's going to happen, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's going to happen. So my thought is that there should be no parking eliminated north of the south edge, north of the north edge of that northerly curb cut. If nobody's supposed to be making the left, then it doesn't matter if there's parking on the right side there or not. Does everybody understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Wally,
Otherwise, just
Wally, can you read that again? Number 3.
to continue.
I'm sorry, what?
Wally, can you read
Password
number
followed by pound.
again?
I'm having problems hearing whoever.
I have it up if you want me to read it. It says number 3 is for safety reasons, a no left-hand turn sign will be erected at egress driveway out onto North Ellicott Street.
Are there not 2 driveways from that parking lot on the plan?
Please re-enter the meeting password followed by pound.
I'm having problems.
Yeah, someone isn't muted that should be.
Bye.
Someone's phone is dialing.
Are there 2 driveways from the parking lot behind the building onto North Ellicott?
By pound.
There's one, we're seeing one currently from the parking lot of their proposed area to North Ellicott. I'm only seeing one.
So okay, so it's, all right.
But isn't a second one proposed? An additional
There's an
to make the loop around the building?
But that doesn't make sense. Where would you put a second driveway?
It sounds like the second access point is the one that Benderson wanted when they were before us originally. And as I recall, the parking lot was laid out to be behind the building, and that you could it was a row of a spine with a double row of parking parallel to the building, parallel to Main Street, with an access aisle on both sides of it. North of the building and north of the parking. And then those 2 driveways both went to North Ellicott, and then they wanted another driveway that went out to Main Street on the west side of the building, which is what we had recommended. In our discussions, we didn't want it. In the end, we approved the site plan because it was all legal, and we would prefer to have the project than not have it. But that driveway, in our view, to the west side was not necessary. Benderson was adamant that they wanted it because they were concerned that people driving down Main Street looking for locations in that building would drive past North Ellicott and then need to turn into that driveway. If they were coming from the east, they would be driving past North Ellicott.
It's okay.
heading
Two driveways on Main Street.
way
Who cares?
on the west side to still get to the parking lot. That was their argument.
They won't though, because everybody knows the entrance to Main Street there. We know that.
Mute your connection.
People learn.
If you're not talking, mute, please. So the problem you got is this continuous request. If the fire department had their way, there'd be no parking on any street in the village. We need parking. We have a code that has no parking minimums for businesses, and we're encouraging people to utilize on-street parking and not pave the village. We would like more building mass and less parking lots. And so we've got a no parking minimum, and then we're going to turn around on the other side of it and say, by the way, there's no parking lot required behind your building, but you're not allowed to park on the street. That doesn't make sense. So, the fire department, we've said this before, they should be buying smaller equipment if they don't think they can get their equipment down the streets. Suburban scale equipment that is demanding no parking on the streets to answer fire calls that they don't have is just insanity. There are other businesses on North Ellicott. This is the first block off Main Street where people are looking for parking. We know the history of this site with Benderson in the past has been when it's empty and there's nobody in that parking lot, they chained it off, they posted signs not to use it, so the other businesses that are in the area, Cabernet across the street, their customers can't use it. So we're not sharing the parking facilities, and then we're going to say you can't park on the street. And of course, all of this is so that the fire department can blow through the village as quickly as possible for emergency response times for events that aren't occurring, so they can bring massive fire trucks down these streets to get to fires that they don't answer fire calls for. We've had this discussion 1,000 times. This is nuts. The people need to understand that this is a village, not a suburb. It's a suburban village in a completely different form, and we need to accommodate that if we want it to continue to survive and be sustained as a village, in the form of a village. If we keep on going down this road and turning everything into a suburb, there won't be a village here anymore. You might as well bulldoze the whole thing and start putting in cul-de-sacs.
I will say that this is Dan Delano. I will say that I'm pretty disappointed in the fact that after the discussion of this was a traffic and safety issue. I believe. No, I don't think I was on the board still, but this was a while ago that we were fighting them on, not fighting them, but discussing the fact of having only one driveway onto North Ellicott. Fought them on the curb cut on Main. They got that. I remember approving that, saying, okay, if that is now all of a sudden there's another one on North Ellicott, that's what's stealing your parking.
The other issue that people should think about is that now the village has put a condition on their site plan approval directing them to put a no left turn out of that parking lot. So they have to go north. As a traffic and safety issue, if I'm in that parking lot, you are now compelling people, they can't make a left going out onto North Ellicott, but they're going to have to go out onto North Ellicott and go south and make a left-hand turn on Main Street at an unsignalized intersection, instead of being able to go north and go down Eagle and get back over to Evans, where they can access a traffic signal, or come back to Mill, where they can turn and get to a traffic signal to make left-hand turns or any other controlled movement onto Main Street. Instead, we're forcing them to come out of a parking lot, make a right-hand turn and go to an unsignalized intersection and try to make that move. That's crazy.
I will say.
I like it as a resident.
Commercial traffic going through the neighborhood. That's the effort don't use the street network as a network. We want to treat these streets as private driveways. We don't want strangers driving on our street. Again, a poor.
Can I speak as a resident?
Hello.
Of course you can. You can speak as a committee
Okay,
member.
this is Eileen Torrey. I know I'm a liaison, but I'm also a resident of North Ellicott Street, and so is Deb Cambria. And quite frankly, right now we're dealing with excess traffic, period. And to have a no left turn down our street is actually favorable to our neighborhood. Because people right now access our street to avoid Evans and Mill, and they race down North Ellicott to cut over to Chalmers and then back to Sheridan. So the no left-hand turn is actually good for the neighborhood.
But not for traffic safety.
But right, but that, you're right. It's not, that's not a really discussion point for traffic and safety. We're looking at numbers, we're looking at flow.
Yeah.
And so I can say that in my neighborhood too. Everybody can say that in their neighborhood. But I don't disagree with you. You do get a lot of cut through traffic. And it's then, are they speeding? Are they driving recklessly? That is not a traffic and safety issue as much of through design as it is through enforcement. And, you know, are you going to get a police car on North Ellicott all the time? No, no one is all the time. But, so that's kind of the way you have to look at that. I will say that in the development, because I went through it when I was on the board, the development on Main and Hirschfield, everybody, that was part of the thing. They wanted a no left turn, and that's signalized at Main. They wanted a no left turn off on the Hirschfield. It didn't happen, and there wasn't. After that building was finished just before I stepped into the mayor's seat. I didn't get one complaint about traffic or reckless driving or anything on Hirschfield after almost the whole street complained before coming up to it and on the what if factor. So just keep that in mind. That's an example.
If you want to slow down traffic, keep the parking on the street. Don't clear the street and make it conducive to faster traffic. That's number one. Number two, I'd ask people to remind themselves, or at least look at their own behavior. The characterization of anybody driving on that street that doesn't live there as using it as a cut through, not using it as a street in a network of streets that comprises a form and a pattern that creates a village. It's only cut through traffic when it's not your car there. And then when you take your car and drive down the streets in other neighborhoods, you're not cutting through, you're just using the streets. We all do that. We had that exact conversation over on the other side with Academy Street, Rhinewalt area, where everybody said they wanted street signs out on Main Street saying their street was a dead end, no outlet. No one would come down Main Street and use their street as a cut through to get to Eagle, to get back to Evans and go north. And that people were cutting through. And my conversation then at that meeting was, what do the people do that live on that street? Do they drive back out to Main Street and make a right-hand turn and then drive down to Mill and make another right turn? Or do they cut down Eagle to get back over to Evans themselves? These are streets that comprise a network. We all have a right to use them. You just need to create a form where people behave and follow the rules. I have no problem with wanting to say people shouldn't speed down these local streets. That's true. They shouldn't run through stop signs. That's true. But the solution of having no parking is not going to slow people down. It's going to speed them up and exacerbate your problem.
Mr. Chairman?
All right.
Dan Ryder here. Could I have the floor for a minute?
Wait a minute. Now I'm getting an echo from whoever.
It sounds like you're at Yankee Stadium.
Okay, Wally, all right.
Who's that speaking now?
Dan Ryder.
Hey, Dan, go ahead. You got a little bit of an echo or a feedback.
Yeah, I'm on my phone, that's why. Won't work on the computer, the audio. Anyway, first of all, North Ellicott Street, the parking, well, either the parking or the fire hydrants is on the wrong side of the street, okay? Usually, there's a marriage supposed to take place on streets like this. The no parking signs belong on the same side as the fire hydrants, okay? That's not the case on North Ellicott, okay? And I'm not advocating changing any of that. I'm just making a statement about there's a problem there that goes back probably many years. All right, I've been over that road a couple of times the last couple of days, and I can tell you Benderson needs to replace the driveway apron on Ellicott Street, okay? And that's not going to happen until next year, until the job is done. That'll be one of the last things that's done because they don't want to run trucks over new concrete, okay? It would be a simple matter to box out and widen North Ellicott Street from Main to whatever, to the telephone pole, a couple of feet, pave it with asphalt, it'll be fine, okay? Just make the street a couple of feet wider and keep the parking on the east side, okay? Where it shouldn't be, but let's leave it there, okay? And put up no parking signs on the west side of the street, and I think it'll work. Because I'm not in favor of giving up prime parking spots in the village, and that's
Prime
defined
parking spots in the village, and that's defined by
Main Street,
Main Street and one block off.
Not done.
So this is Dan Delano. So Dan Ryder, what you're saying is widen. You're making the suggestion of widening the street from Main to Eagle.
Swan
No, Swan.
Street.
Swan. That's what I meant, Swan.
Yes. Widen it by 2 feet. On the
west side.
As crazy as that sounds, to keep the parking, that might actually make that whole corner a lot safer when it comes to people making lefts out of it onto Main Street heading south.
To be honest, the visual we're looking at right now, you're going to lose maybe like 2 or 3 fledgling trees, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. It doesn't look like it'd be that bad of an idea.
Why did you bring up trees?
Hey man,
those trees, those trees haven't been kind to us anyway. We've replaced them like 3-4 times because they just take a beating.
There is a utility there. It's marked on the drawing we're looking at. It's probably gas, but I think you could do 2 feet from what we're looking at.
Are there wires that cross? Are there utility poles on the west side? Maybe one. I want to say there's a funny one that jumps across the street, because that would have to come into play as well.
Well, you're dealing with a bunch of volunteers. If you want to pursue this, get the Public Works Department to look at it.
No, but I'm just saying I don't have the visual, but can anybody see a pole on the side?
There's a pole on the east side. There's a pole on the east side, and there's a smaller pole on the west side. I don't know what the heck it's feeding. It looks like it's actually feeding the building in question.
Yeah, I want to say because of trees, I remember dealing with that. Right, it jumps across the street, and then it goes from that pole to the bank building, which
Correct.
Now that's gone. That could probably be redesigned anyway, and one less utility pole out there.
Right. Good idea.
Do we have the civil drawings for this project? I think it might help if we saw the civil drawings to see what they propose for parking, what they propose for into the facility and out of the facility, and utilities to make a better call. I think what Dan proposed was pretty good, but maybe if we had the civil drawings and we knew what they were proposing on paper, we can make a better call.
well, we can ask for those and I'll put this over to next month then, or whenever. Most immediately what I'm in agreement with Bill that, for all the reasons Bill said, even though it was difficult to make out a goodly number of them, but why we have as long a hook and ladder as we do in a neighborhood, in a village as small as we have, forget it. We've been there, done that, said that. And they have one that's long, and yet, and they dictate too much to what we do or think. But yeah, that said, it's Benderson. Yeah, getting Benderson to do much of anything. Otherwise, it's going to be the village repaving what you are suggesting, Dan, in terms of increasing the west side width of North Ellicott. Maybe the maybe the plans will help, and maybe we table this. I think, as I recall, and I am not going to claim a good recollection on this, part of the reason for no left turn out of the egress was in deference to the residents in North Ellicott. As Eileen, I assume, surmises. I can't recall why a no left. For safety reasons, yet it would seem to make sense to allow a left and then a right onto Eagle.
Okay, can we talk? This is Debbie Cambria. If they make a left out of that on North Ellicott, Swan is right there. You're gonna have a problem then making left and people coming out of Swan. It's not just a left turn going to Eagle. You have another street there.
Because of
You
all
have
the traffic
Swan.
coming down Swan?
There are people that live there. There's traffic coming down Swan. So you're gonna have to make a left, and in a matter of 20 feet, you're gonna have another street.
It's
Well,
level of service A. It's infrequent cars coming down Swan. It's not traffic.
No.
The egress,
Christine
Debbie, and this, the plans may help this better. The egress, where the no left turn would be,
Right.
no matter what, would be further yet south of Swan Street than the ingress. So there'd be a little bit of a spatial difference.
No. Oh, we're talking about a couple of feet. I mean,
We understand what you're saying, and I mean, for a residence issue, like, listen, I live on California. I understand the traffic
no,
and the
no,
but for safety issues, I mean, this isn't a discussion. I mean, we're not making a decision today, but for safety issues, we had the same discussion back when we were talking about the project, the Blocher Homes project. We suggested putting traffic out onto Village
Point Lane.
Village Point Lane. That was our suggestion because of safety reasons. Yes, it put more people out into the residential street of Village Point, but it was for safety reasons. It made the most sense as having people turn out onto Evans Street. Same with here. I mean, this is for safety reasons, for traffic safety. Like, it may make more sense to allow the left-hand turn out, just because making a left-hand turn out of North Ellicott onto Main Street is extremely dangerous for a car.
Okay, I get it, but I walk probably an hour every day in the village. I am like a traffic cop in the village. People pull out of Swan Street, they don't even stop. They pull right out. They don't, I mean, fine, go and look at what would happen with it being so close to Swan Street. I'm not even talking, I'm a couple of blocks down on North Ellicott, so it doesn't affect me as much. That's not the point. The point is that it's going to be a bottleneck right there. And I'm not saying a ton of cars come out of Swan, but if you get, 5 or 10, what are the chances of someone making a left-hand turn and hitting a car pulling out of Swan? I'm just bringing it up.
But what I will
and
say
that,
though,
that can happen at any time of
Yes, I know.
day, at any intersection in the
Yes,
village,
okay.
Debbie. And
Right.
as you'll find out when you participate in this committee, people treat traffic control devices as suggestions, not the law.
I'm just giving my opinion.
I
no,
understand that.
yeah, and that's what we need, just an overall discussion. And I just want to add to that though, when it's just like adding, when you have people around, it's like built-in security. When you have just a little bit more cars around, or the potential for a little bit more cars around, and the people that use that as a cut through on a regular basis, but now that they know there's just a little bit more congestion there, a little bit more possible congestion there, they're not going to go blowing through out of Swan onto North Ellicott anymore. And that's a fact.
Okay, Benderson's going to have an exit off the Swan too. Yes. The back, the parking lot in the back. No, just the side and the front. They're not having a back entry. Okay.
We really need to have a set of plans. I don't recall that as being an issue, okay? And we need to bring the plans out again and look.
I think for us to give our honest and due diligence to the higher authorities, we need to look at the prints for two things, where their parking lot, how many cars you're going to accommodate, and then utilities. Because if they got to start moving, if they have to start moving utilities around, they're going to tell us to pound salt. But if we had the plans, just the overview, just the 101 drawing about what they think about cars are going to be entering and exiting the facility, we can make calls on both a lot better.
Agreed.
Remember what was asked of us, no matter what. And I don't see this coming before planning board. Bender, again, you're making suggestions over and above the one thing we were being asked to look at, whether parking should be allowed.
Right.
On from Swan South. Yet we're getting into things that, candidly, knowing Benderson, not only from planning board but personal dealings with them, they aren't going to reconsider a damn thing. And I'm putting. Say we can look at the plans and look at it in terms of safety. I'm in agreement, gentlemen, with everything that's been stated, including we all know the maxim that parking on the street helps to slow traffic. And candidly, no matter what, I think we should allow the parking on the east side of North Ellicott. But I don't know how far we can go yet in terms of redesigning something that was accepted over a year ago by planning. Just keep talking to everyone.
Wally, Dave Ryder, can I interject something here? North Ellicott from Maine to Swan, the pavement is not great, okay? So my idea to widen the street by 2 feet is not a big deal if the road's going to be repaved. Okay. Cost a couple of $1,000 to do it, or so. Whatever.
Let me ask you this then, just a kind of a side question here. Was this a unfortunate oversight by asking about the parking, or because I'm assuming this has nothing to do with the actual building plan being passed? That's already passed, correct?
Yes, and it passed. The yeah, what I sent you, the minutes, it passed on June 3rd of a year ago.
Okay.
And then the letter came from Tim. And mentioning.
I'm just curious. The reason I ask is I'm curious why this wasn't considered in more detail with it when it comes to the actual plan approval, because this did come up and then it went away, and now it's coming up again after it's already been passed. So
I don't recall it being part of what we saw.
we weren't. I thought we were asked about this.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, we were, and we did make recommendations, but I think what ended up happening, and I haven't had the time to even look at yet, time sequence. We looked at it for traffic and safety, and obviously, if I recall correctly, we didn't want a Main Street entrance or exit, and made that recommendation. But after we made our recommendations, there was a certain redesign, and the loop came into being behind the building, and ingress and an egress, as well as the Main Street cut. And it didn't come back to traffic and safety to look at anew.
And it absolutely should have. And you can, and please let the minutes reflect that. It absolutely should have come back to traffic and safety after that change was made. If they were asking us for an opinion, for an approval in the beginning, and we didn't get our way anyway, and then they make a change when it comes to the very ingress and egress of that project without it coming back to traffic and safety, something went wrong there in the process.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly.
Again, this is my recollection. I'm sure it didn't come back to us.
No, it didn't.
No, it never did.
And I think that loop ingress and egress occurred after we'd looked at it, but I haven't had time to research minutes.
I'm sorry.
Wally, it's 8 o'clock. We spent the best part of an hour on this thing already.
Yeah, I know, and I want to get on to some other items.
Can I make a motion?
Can I make a motion?
I'd like to move
that
this committee is not in favor of any immediate change in the parking on North Ellicott Street, and we will revisit this when the actual construction plans are given to us.
Well, Wally, to that motion, Dan, if I may interrupt, and I'm sorry to do so, I think, Wally, didn't you suggest we just table it until the next meeting, following up on Matt's suggestion that we get the civil plans in front of us?
Yeah.
Basically the same thing.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. So if Dan will rescind his motion, we can just he can table it. Wally can just table it on his motion.
Okay, I'll rescind it. And, we want the approved construction plans that the planning board approved.
Not really. At least we know what's going on.
They should be the plans.
All right.
Thank you, Dan, for rescinding.
Okay.
All right, so it's tabled.
And that's what will be restated in the minutes, Wally.
What?
That it's tabled until the next meeting, requesting that we get the civil drawings for further review.
Okay. And I suspect I can get those or ask, or we can get them from Tim or Keaton. Yeah.
Well,
Can we
we need the for construction room. FOR construction.
Can we also, on that tabling, I don't know, maybe I don't know how the minutes can reflect this. I would like an explanation of why that didn't come back to traffic and safety. Because that's a hole in the process. If this is what they're asking us to do as a board, if this is part of our duty and part of our job, but we're not getting, it's not getting kicked back to us on a situation like this, and this is kind of a big deal. I would like an explanation.
Yeah.
Candidly, at this point in time, I think it's in the Board of Trustees bailiwick. They're asking us apparently for some comment on the parking issue, and that's it. I don't know, and maybe Eileen knows, is there yet, and I don't want to belabor this, but is there any kind of public hearing on elimination of the parking?
Nothing has been said of recent, no.
Okay.
But I can look into that.
Yeah,
It sounded to me like this was because not anything Benderson was doing. It had nothing to do with their approved site plan. It had to do with well after the fact that the fire department was requesting this of the village to be considered. And then it came to us because it was a request from the fire department to the village, and the village board sent it to us to comment, is what I'm assuming.
You are correct.
Right, Bill, and I understand that, but my point is there was another driveway added, and it didn't bounce back to traffic and safety. We had to sit through meetings and belabor this before about over one driveway and fighting the second, and then a third one gets added and it doesn't kick back to traffic and safety. Something's wrong there. And like I said, I would just like an explanation. If they tell us it's none of our business, it's not part of the process, then fine. But from what I understand and all these types of things, that's why some of these committees exist, is to be for these types of issues to be bounced back to them.
well, we can ask about that as well.
All right, let's move on.
That had occurred to me as well, but yeah, we can ask whether we're going to get an answer by the next time, since I don't think there's another planning board meeting scheduled before the end of the year now. So,
well, I'm not asking for an explanation from planning. I'm asking an overall explanation from essentially the village board. And what are the guidelines for those kickbacks?
okay. So noted, and let's move on, all right? Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Yes.
The next item, weight limit on Evans.
Now, can I just start this out because I have a little bit of history here, and I can maybe fill some gaps in. There is now the weight limit. Now it just says weight limit on Evans, but it's the whole idea of truck traffic. I'm assuming, correct?
No, all I had, and that can be part of the problem at times. All I had was an email from John Murphy about, and I attached it again to the items I sent out to give at least some perspective. A question recently came up regarding the 5-ton weight limit on Evans Road in the village. Yet the question was whether or not the weight limit should be in place. And this came up just after our last meeting again, and it, it was referred to our committee and to, I guess, buildings.
So the idea then is to open up Evans to truck traffic. That's what they're saying. If you're eliminating the weight limit, then you're opening up truck traffic on Evans.
Well, according to the letter, or the email, it just basically says that the county, just Gina Wilkowski, traffic safety engineer for the county, is saying that the Erie County did not issue those signs, that they're not appropriate, and that a sign will not be issued. So basically the sign's illegal, shouldn't be there to begin with. So it's not opening it up to truck traffic, is that the sign shouldn't have been before, and truck traffic should always have existed and allowed.
So there must have been a ticket here and somebody probably fought it and it went that high. That's what I'm assuming. So what, yeah, I don't understand this, because they were up, those have been up for years. And I can just give you a little history, because we, through traffic and safety, and I believe this goes back as far as when I was a traffic and safety member before I was on the board, and this is 8 years ago, we discussed the, the truck traffic coming off of SJ. And remember, we added those signs for the no left turns for trucks to go up the hill to head south, so the trucks wouldn't be going through that section of Evans to Maine. And then they were only allowed to make a right to get back to Sheridan.
Right.
That was basically a compromise, but that's the best we could do. I don't see how those signs could be up there that long and the county never catches it. I would almost have to say, from a village perspective, if the village in fact wants to keep them, that's past practices, and that's the way it should stay, because that's the way that neighborhood is. That's the way that neighborhood has been for probably decades now. If that's opened up to traffic, if that's opened up to if those signs are eliminated, and I want to say it's in the village ordinance that there's no truck traffic allowed. You're talking, you're opening up a thoroughfare. The only good thing about it is, well, we don't own Garrison yet. This is one of the things. Until the county hands Garrison over to us, which we are in an MOU with, if we eliminated that, then essentially they can run. You're going to see truck traffic from Worley to Sheridan, going from Garrison to Evans.
Hey, Dan, I agree with you, Debbie Cambria. I walk that area all the time. Trucks aren't really a problem. They do turn right up towards Sheridan. I don't see, the signs really do help, because I don't have any problems crossing the street. On Evans, there aren't a lot of trucks where I walk, and the signs definitely work.
I would motion, and if I don't know how everybody else feels here, that the county is to add that and keep it the way it is.
Well,
add it to their ordinance if it's their road. It is. I believe it is in our ordinance, and Trustee Torrey, that if you could look that up. But I want to say that there's a truck, because we explored this, and it's on the books, and it has been on the books.
All right, I'll see what I can find, Dan.
All right. Now, look, Dan, I don't know that you had the opportunity to read what I sent, but this came from Gina Wilkowski, traffic safety engineer for Erie County Highways. And she wrote to Ben Valonen from our village
DPW.
Village DPW. A question recently came up regarding the 5-ton weight limit on Evans Road in the village. The question was whether or not the weight limit should be in place. in checking county traffic files, I found a series of correspondence between the village and Erie County from 1992 that ended with the county saying that the weight limit was not appropriate and that a sign permit will not be issued. Where my history on these signs ends. Do you have any correspondence or sign permits dated after February 14th, 1992 to the contrary? If not, these signs will need to be removed. That's the issue. I think as a safety issue, the village should do what we've done and prohibit, truck traffic going south, yet on Evans into the village. I think
I agree.
The question is, do we have that right? And right now, I'm game with leaving the damn signs in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a county road. That's what we're
right.
Definitely.
So the decision is then, I think Dan's suggestion is that we recommend that the village, request to the county that they keep it the way it's been for, the past 20, 30 years. So that's, if I'm right, Dan.
Yeah, I would actually just go beyond a request, just say that that's the, we are asking, if not demanding, that they stay that way because that's the way that neighborhood's set up. That's the way it's been. Those signs have been up for some reason. It's worked. There's been no issue. Now all of a sudden this comes from, I'm not exactly sure where this comes from, but, that would create a big issue. You would have trucks, like I said, you would have them traveling from Worley to Sheridan, and you'd have them making rights off of Main onto Evans to get to Sheridan. Guarantee it.
No. We don't want that. Leave the signs up now.
Yeah. And Dan, you did say that there's a village ordinance enforcing that 5-ton limit, correct?
When we explored this, I remember seeing that in the village. I should go to E-Code 360 here, but because we were remember it was this committee that was talking about adjusting it, and it was because of the right. It was the whole debacle with the no trucks left turn, remember? And we wanted to move that one sign that was in front of Carolyn Schlifke's house because we figured it was too close to Evans, or move it back because by the time you made the left, then it was too late or something like that. I did, but those signs, I want to say that weight limit is in the thing, and I can't find Eco 360. So, just to kill this from a traffic and safety point, do we just make a motion to recommend that the village ask the county to keep that weight limit in place from Main to SJ, essentially?
If you're making that motion, I'll second it.
Whose comment was that?
That was Joe.
Joe? And again, Joe, I couldn't hear you all that well. What was?
Well, Dan made the suggestion, or made the suggestion or the motion. I guess if Dan made it, the motion to ask the village board to. Oh, Dan, why don't you repeat what you said?
To ask the village board to recommend to the village board, we are asking the village, we're recommending the village board ask the county to keep that weight limit in place. And if ordinances or the law needs to be adjusted around that, then so be it. I'm still not on E360 here, but.
Can I give you the bad news?
It's not in there.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
The county.
Evans Street's a federal aid highway for the county. Okay. In order to be a federal aid highway,
you have to allow trucks.
Okay. So my own feeling is Let's just let the thing die.
Might not be a bad idea.
And
Furthermore,
Pat
Lucy
is
together
putting together a map
through
of
Amherst.
truck routes through Amherst.
Okay,
Which are basically the state highways. Transit Road, Union Road, and Harlem
Road. So you might want to ask him how he's coming on his truck route map. Okay?
Right. I just wonder if this was, because I know there was a debacle about the curb cuts put in at Eagle and Evans, and the village did that. And maybe someone's bonnet got in a twist about that or something. I don't know. It just seems awful weird that that comes around now for no reason, out of the blue.
Well, I like to comment on that. Don't forget, there's a possibility of a huge project going up on Evans Street. Dan?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's come up.
Yes.
And therefore, I agree that it should be taken back to the village as a motion that we keep the signs. Thank you.
Well, Dan, I don't
You
know.
can't-
I'm gonna say,
You
Dan,
can't keep the concrete trucks out of there.
right.
Well, I agree there, but other trucks, because what, yeah.
Well, that's a local traffic issue, right?
Well, Dan, you made the motion, I seconded it, but so, I mean, I don't know, but Dan Ryder also said that we should let sleeping dogs lie and let it go, but it's really up to, I mean, what do you want did you want it to move forward on it, or do you not want to move forward on it?
Is the how hard is the county leaning on this? I guess I kind of need to know that.
Immediate arrest.
What's that?
Immediate arrest.
Immediate arrest.
I assume
You
Joe.
okay? So this letter came from this person, Wally, and that came to you, or that came through John Murphy?
It went to Ben Belonen, who, crew chief for DPW, Village DPW. He referred it both to Judy Kindron and to our committee. John Murphy did.
Okay, so maybe I should just back that motion up a bit and say the Traffic and Safety Committee recommends that those signs stay in place, and leave it at that.
I think at this stage that makes sense, and I agree with some of the comments. Why it comes up when now is curious. Since nothing has happened since apparently around 1992, or that's what this person from the county's research indicates. So,
new job.
But do we have a motion then? A recommendation motion?
Yeah, I made the motion.
And
Joe Spino seconded it, Wally.
yeah, and it's that simple. We're not complicating it again at all. Yeah.
This is Kevin Brown from the police. Can I just ask one thing? I know you still have these signs that are going to be up there, but they're not going to be enforceable. That's understood, correct?
Well, I guess theoretically they were never enforceable.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point, Kevin. I don't want to put that in the minutes.
Yes,
because I know that there are residents on Evans that call frequently about truck traffic, and if it's local truck traffic, which I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of it with the development going on there,
right?
They're not enforceable. So,
well,
so we understood
Isn't the truck traffic for construction sites considered local traffic anyway then?
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. So I mean, it wouldn't affect it, but I know some people sometimes get confused when they see the signs and be like, "Oh, there's no truck traffic at all on that street." So.
And that doesn't mean you won't get calls.
Oh, we'll certainly get calls, but yeah.
They should have approved the project then.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Well, Kevin, just,
Yeah.
no matter what, this email that was sent to Ben seems somewhat equivocal. Now, whether there is some legitimacy after the fact from 1992 on, apparently the county doesn't know of it. That's not to say it doesn't exist, but I hear you in terms of enforcement.
And if I'm correct in the village code, and I think there's something in there about truck routes. So trucks should be encouraged to take those truck routes. And like Dan said earlier about the town, they are, and they have been for at least 4 or 5 years now, trying to develop a map throughout the town for truck traffic to go. And once that is established and passed by the town, that might be something that the village should kind of piggyback on and at least steer trucks towards those main roads that you want them on. I mean, Main Street's going to be a road because it's a state road, but I think Union is the one that's designated for the village as a truck route to go through the village. So that should be encouraged for trucks to use that instead.
No, I couldn't agree more, I think. Well, we have a motion. Yet, any more comment before I call for a vote?
It would be not necessarily the signs as much. Wait, let me look. I'm sorry, I don't mean to hold this up any more than I already have. Leave the weight limit in place on Evans, not the signs. It's got nothing to do with the signs. We were asked about the weight limit. So it would be to leave the weight limit restrictions in place on Evans in the village. That's my motion.
And I seconded it.
All right. If no further comment, I don't know that we need a roll call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving on. Stop sign at Los Robles in California.
Oh, boy.
So can I jump up for a second?
Yeah, who?
It's Matt, Sherry. This is
Matt.
my hood. This is my hood. I don't know. There's
My hood
stop
too,
signs.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right down the road, Joe. There's stop signs everywhere. There's stop signs. I don't know what he or she is hearing. There are. Wait, am I a liar? I might be a liar.
No, there is one at California Los Robles that was just put in a year ago, so this may not show it.
Oh,
yet.
maybe they mean a stop sign heading towards Cayuga.
Yes, which was added.
Oh,
That's
okay.
there.
There are stop signs there now.
There is now a sign at the corner of California and Los Robles on California.
Okay. So I think what
It's an intersection. There's 3 stop signs there.
Correct.
So
both sides of California and then Los Robles, so it's a 3-way stop, basically.
So if we're on bullet point 4 here, a resident has noted cars gunning it after stopping at the stop sign. There are a ton of children in the area, mine included. But I think there's been a ton of traffic lately because of all the construction going on down the street here. And there are a bunch of, construction people, and they do fly through down California. I've seen them do it. But as regards to stop signs, like I said, I could have sworn there's stop signs here. And there are, Joe says.
There are. I walk the dog past there almost every day.
Yeah.
But
I drove by there today.
Yeah. So basically, though, Matt, to continue on with what you're saying, I mean, so the issue is really, as we always go back to, and as Bill Tine always go back to, it's an enforcement issue versus or people following the rules issue. There is a stop sign at Los Robles in California.
There they are.
Yep. There is a stop sign already. Yeah, look, he's got different, different view.
It's just different times they took the
Times
picture.
they're taken, right.
Yeah. There they are.
Exactly. So those signs, they already exist. So really what it comes down to is like, they're gunning it between Los Robles and Cayuga. But it's only 800 feet between Los Robles and California.
Well, it's a little tricky there. I will say that because there's a little bit of a dog leg in there.
Yeah.
And there's always cars parked there. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's at Los Robles heading towards Milton.
Again, and this was pointed out to me by the mayor. And I responded, yet we have stop signs all over the village and we have kids all over the village. Thank goodness we have families moving in. Yeah. And time and again. And it's great to see the little kids. But it comes down to an enforcement issue. And I know the Amherst police are doing the darndest and speedways like Evans, like Cayuga and Garrison. They can't be everywhere. And somebody mentioned Dogleg. I drove down there today just to see. That's a bit of a curve with the cars there. You can't really go that fast, in my humble opinion.
Wally, I have a solution. Okay.
What?
We put a
Then
Are
they
you
hit
there?
the stop sign and they want to take off.
Yeah.
So put another stop sign in at Pasadena.
No.
I have a better idea, I think. Let's put in a mini roundabout at Pasadena in California. That'll slow all the cut-through traffic down from Main Street to Cayuga.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you can get the construction company to pay for it. See how that works.
What construction company?
Nah, the ones that causing the trouble with the people gunning it off the stop sign. People gunning the stop sign at my corner at South Ellicott and Park. And there's a park right there. I mean, come on, really?
Right. Yeah. Well, you've got a perfect cut through. You've got California, Los Robles, and Pasadena, all cut through routes. They'll get you through the intersection of Cayuga and Main, get you on Cayuga Road quicker than going on the main roads. Do you want to deal with it?
Well, I'm gonna go with what the possibility here is what Matt said. It's just a temporary thing. When there's a construction I'm one block off Main. Whenever there's a construction project going on around me on Main, like there is right now, it changes things for a little while. What do you do about that? You let it happen. That's what you don't. I'm just. I get it. Maybe it seems like they're gunning it. Maybe they're a little bit louder pickup trucks or something like that. I would have to witness it. But Matt, you said you did. This is kind of what you're observing.
Yeah.
I mean, why? That's a temporary thing. That's part of the growing pains. I'm dealing with a dump truck coming down my street every once in a while because of this project, because someone misses a turn. Do I go calling the police or writing a letter to you? No, it's part of the growing pains.
You need a weight limit sign.
I like your roundabout idea.
Well, if it's only a temporary issue, if you're sure of that, then we'll back off and wait another year and see what happens.
Yeah, this Natalia project on California is going to take, it's going to take a little bit of time to build, obviously. Obviously, the planning board decided not to put another egress out onto South Long, so that's going to affect traffic eventually. But we don't know that effect until it happens. So to make a change, I mean, again, we already I think it was a year to two, where we added the stop sign at Los Robles. That didn't used to exist. Now that exists. at California at Los Robles. Those California signs didn't exist 2 years ago, or less than 2 years ago probably, and now those exist. So we've already added those two stop signs. The one we're looking at right now, they didn't exist, and that has definitely slowed traffic down from before, because now they have, the cut through from Maine to Cayuga now requires you to stop. Again, if they follow the sign, they have to stop at the sign. So it comes down to, again, I say enforcement, but it's also, drivers being good drivers and respectful drivers and stopping at stop signs. Again, but between, and I measured it out, between Los Robles and Cayuga it's just 800 feet, and it's about 450 feet from Los Robles to Pasadena, and then another 350 feet, give or take, to Cayuga. So it's, even if they're gunning it, they're not gunning it to too much of they're speaking of a child. But even if they're gunning it, they're not gunning it to break the speed limit. The speed limit's 30.
Now, is there a stop, excuse my ignorance, and I don't have a visual here or anything, but there is now, because this was, I had a little gray area, I was off the board and I wasn't on a committee yet. So that stop sign went in on California and Pasadena?
At Los Robles.
Oh, so there isn't one at Pasadena now?
There's not one at Pasadena.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
so but that was up for discussion or something at one time, because I was going to say, if there is one there now, that's why they're blowing it, because they see another one up ahead and they're just, they're not going to take the time to stop for two stop signs. They're going to cut their time in half and roll both. And that's always been Bill Tyne's philosophy that he shares with that, and I fully agree with that. But that's not the case. So this is kind of, it's a curve and then an extra street. That is technically laid out like every other collector street in the world, except for Highland or Oak Grove and Scott or whatever that is. Highland and Oak Grove, which is another topic for another day.
Write a letter.
I will.
If we care enough, again, since this is my neighbor, not care, we care. Do we want to propose anything formal by asking the Amherst police to maybe do a stop once every month or so at that corner at Pasadena to see if there's any speeders, just to ask them to once in a while sit there. But again, it's a speeding issue. It's 850 feet to get from one spot to the others. Even if they're gunning it, they're not breaking the speed limit.
Are we going to start asking Amherst police to sit on every side?
That's my point. Exactly.
Yeah.
We can't ask them to sit. Every every neighborhood has the same issue.
24/7.
So this is Kevin.
What happens when you use traffic control devices as speed limiting devices. That's why these stop signs were put in on a collector, was to try to stop people and break it up. And and what you do is when you delay drivers unnecessarily, when there's no reason for it, then their driver behavior gets bad. And they start running stop signs and they start speeding on the other side because they've been unduly interrupted on a collector that really should be just conveying traffic from one end to the other. Which is why I say, if you're trying to change it and you're concerned that, you can put somebody up there and you can write, and I agree with Dan that to some degree, this is going to be because you've got a lot of strangers in the area who are construction workers, although there's not a lot of construction going on over there at the moment, I don't think, unless they've started back up again.
They have.
No, there's a lot.
There's a lot now, yeah.
If they're back up and they're working, then you've got a lot of strangers coming to the area who have very little respect for the neighborhood. They're just trying to blow out of there and get somewhere else, and they're in a hurry. People that will live there ultimately, you hope that once they move in, they'll know people in the neighborhood, they'll understand that there's kids there, and they'll behave. But there'll be a lot more people in the neighborhood, and we're going to have issues there for a while, I suspect. So You know, we did have a request to have no parking there as well. Again, another request for no parking, which does the same thing. If we, you know, you put all these things in place, use these devices for ways they're not intended, you create more problems than you're trying to solve. So
Right.
keep parking there is one thing to do, slow people down, keep the geometries narrow, keep the roads slow, so people are uncomfortable going fast. That will do a lot more to slow people down than anything else. And then since you've already got a stop sign, and if you change the character of California from being a collector to just being another local street, then I honestly don't see a problem putting in another stop sign and stopping them again at Pasadena, because that's what they've got. They come around the corner, they see a stop sign, they stop, and then they stomp on it to try to get out all the way over to Cayuga without having to stop again. There is nothing else in the way. It's a clear shot, and off they go. So it's not the way you should put things in place. I'm not really advocating for it, but I'm saying if you're trying to solve a problem that we have kind of been, you know, party to, well created by putting in stop signs where they don't belong, then put in another one and make it every intersection you stop, because it's a local street network and everybody's going to stop at every corner, and row it in if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, monitor it, send the police department out. You can do that. It's a lot harder to do these things nowadays than it used to be. There was a time years ago when you could do that. You could call the police department out and say, hey, they're running the stop sign. They're trying to blow through. They're not locals. They are indeed using this as a cut through, and we're having trouble with it. So what we want is the police department to come out and enforce it. But today, everybody's got a cell phone in their pocket. So as soon as the first one comes through from a job site, they call back to all their friends, and guess what? The day the police are there, everybody behaves. And then as soon as the police aren't there, off they go, right back to the bad behavior, and they start blowing everything off, and you're right back to it. You haven't solved anything. So.
Okay. Now, I just want to interject one other thing here. A roundabout can be as simple as a big flower pot and a little bit of painting. That's all we need.
Wait.
I'm not talking about major reconstruction.
All right. Hold on.
Flower pot and a can of paint.
Can I, let me just chime in for a second from the police department's perspective here. I have no problem putting somebody up there. For the residents who live there, how much traffic do you get there? How many cars would you say in an hour goes by that stop sign? Not blows through it, but actually travels the street.
So on an hour, I mean, on a given weekday when I walk the boys after dinner around 5 or 6, I'd say maybe half a dozen.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. It's I can get somebody up there, and I certainly will. I'll add it to our enforcement list. And the guys I have who go out and write tickets are highly motivated to do that. They don't make a lot of friends, obviously, by doing it, but they're highly motivated to go write tickets. And if there's limited traffic, they're not going to stay there long. They'll go to because they've all been tasked with multiple sites throughout the town. I mean, our list is right now of active places we're sitting on is 25 or 30, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but for the 54 square miles that we patrol, I mean, those guys sit there on multiple times in between answering calls for accidents and everything like that. So they stay quite busy. But if there's not a heavy demand if there's not a huge amount of traffic there, they will go there, they'll sit there, they'll watch a couple cars, stop a couple cars, but they just won't devote that time because they'll go to another spot where they can write more tickets and try to solve that problem as well. I think Bill summed it up quite well. It probably is the definition of a unwarranted stop sign at that area, but I understand we're not taking the sign out because it is slowing some cars down. But I just don't think that, don't get me wrong, I will have somebody up there to sit there, but I don't know if that's going to help the problem.
And Matt and Joe, just be prepared that when Captain Brown gets cars there, from personal experience in a different neighborhood, when some of the residents get the tickets for blowing off the stop sign, that's going to be an unexpected consequence, but it will happen.
That happens
Good.
every time.
Good.
It's usually the person who makes the complaint about the stop sign who ends up getting the first couple of tickets. So that's
Well, that's
very
not a
true.
lie.
That is
It's
very
true,
true.
and I agree. Like I said, I was kind of talking in, in jest, like, do we just throw again a police officer there? It's not really, again, it's not really the most effective. Again, especially use your time. Like Matt, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you too, that it's not a heavily trafficked area. Even the busiest time are rush hour times, but
sure.
Obviously, if I had my druthers, I'd have you sit out in front of my house, which is right at the corner of California and Main Street, and get all those cars that are going into Squeeze Juicery and not parking back and not
right.
And that's where I have an issue. If you want to work on California, go there.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot more. You'll get a lot more tickets.
We have no shortages of places to go get tickets.
Right.
Not at all. Can't write them fast enough.
Right.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Well, yeah, I'm sure the residents in the area will be happy to see a presence, however minimal. And thank you again. With that, moving on to an item that was added yesterday or the day before. An Oak Grove resident is having problems pulling out onto Main Street. I hope I forwarded what was forwarded to me later yesterday. Apparently parking on both sides of Oak Grove at Main makes it difficult to pull out onto Main Street. I think we've heard this before at California, at Los Robles and Maine, just about every intersection, north and south of Maine.
Yeah, and Wally, if I may, this is Nick, and I live on Oak Grove.
Right.
Mrs. O'Neill, the author of the letter, stopped me Monday morning and was complaining about it, and I suggested that she write a letter. And the concern more, Wally, is are the vehicles most likely patronizing Reed's Dry Cleaning, parked very close to the intersection at Main and Oak Grove, especially the larger SUVs. And from experience, I know what she's talking about. And you're right, Wally, this issue has come up before us before. I seem to remember Doug Richardson making the statement that he was told that he shouldn't ticket cars parking that close to the intersection on Main in front of Reed's for whatever reason. But it is a legitimate problem. But as you just cited, not that dissimilar to California and some of the other intersections in the core of the village where people are attempting to make a left onto Main Street.
And if I may, for the record, he never heard that from me. I never would make a suggestion like that to Doug. So I'm just gonna, clear my air right there.
And your name was never mentioned when Dougie mentioned
and as for the fact that it's a regular problem now, the village doesn't have a parking enforcement officer right now. He's laid off, so of course it's going to be a problem.
Well, it's always
and the minutes can reflect that too.
Yeah, well, and it's always been a problem, even when Doug was working, Dan. And I'm just speaking from personal experience because I live on the street.
And what I may add to that, and I figured in part it was an enforcement issue. And, I think I mentioned that to Eileen in an email response. But yeah, what Doug would do on occasion, as I understand it, and I think I may have gotten this from Doug or some other business owners on the street. He would go in to, and I'm not saying Reed's, but some of the other places, and ask people to move their cars versus citing them. And most immediately, I do think it's an enforcement issue. I didn't realize Doug had been laid off.
Yeah, as far as I know, Doug hasn't been on since March.
But getting back to the, I don't know, and I should have looked before the meeting, is there a no parking from here to corner sign in front of it? And in the V&T code, isn't there a requirement that there's no parking a certain number of feet from an intersection?
Yes.
I thought it was 20 feet.
Yes.
It's 20 feet. So I think part of the problem is that might be posted, but it's the proverbial issue that when they get a ticket, you know, oh, come on, I was only in the store for 2 minutes type of thing. That I'm sure everybody that issues a parking ticket hears that. But it is a big problem, especially with the larger vehicles, even if you're making a right-hand turn onto Main Street, because they're parking so close to the intersection and your sight line's cut off.
Sure.
You're 100% right. Nick.
I've seen the
And
parking right up to the stop
Wait.
sign on Oak Grove, itself, let alone on Main Street.
And that is signed. That side is signed.
Right.
You know, it doesn't even need a sign. The ordinance is in the traffic law. Drivers are supposed to.
Right.
So they're
Right.
they're just parking there because they're doing just what Nick said. They're trying to run in, drop off their dry cleaning, and then blow on out of there. And they do park close to the intersection. It's like it, but it is true. It is like every other intersection along Main Street. The interesting thing here is that Oak Grove at the intersection is wide. So as a driver, you do have, even though people are parking at the corner, and don't misunderstand me, I'm not sanctioning this, but I am saying that compared to other intersections along Main Street, this is a little bit better. It's mitigated a little bit by the sheer width of the intersection, but there's no question it's difficult. Now, that said, the other elements that help make this a little more tolerable, people shouldn't park that close to the intersection, but the thing that makes it a little more tolerable is that there's an opportunity, which was mentioned in the letter, to cut through the parking lot at Young's Hardware to get to the signal, which has its own problems because people drive through the parking lot too quickly, and they should be driving slowly through a parking lot where cars are maneuvering, and there's a lot of pedestrians from the neighborhood that walk through that parking lot. But it does get you access to the signal. And then you have the other situation, you're right, making a right-hand turn and everything else, but you do get, because there is really close to that intersection, the traffic signal at Mill and the parking lot, you get an intersection of traffic. One of the things that traffic signals, that's one of the warrants for putting traffic signals is to interrupt traffic. So it does serve that function, it does provide a break in the traffic. And it gets, when you get it from the other side all the way down to Garrison, that's the opportunity when people make lefts and they see it. But it is like any move onto Main Street. Any move onto Main Street is difficult at every single intersection. So these are the kind of things, you know, we talked about before. Dan put it in his message to us earlier about looking for ways to reconfigure Main Street, slow traffic down on Main Street too. People drive way too fast down Main Street, which is really what's causing the difficulty and the danger with anyone trying to make a left from any intersection, is that people are not driving the speed limit down Main Street. They're all speeding. That's the real issue here, is the speed of traffic on Main Street. And to date, DOT's been unwilling to do the things that we know will work to change the geometry and slow people down.
It isn't going to happen soon, so what do we do in the interim? Short of
the best thing you can do is
get the Doug Richardson back on the employment rolls.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Bill, there were 3 curb cuts on Main Street going from the Mill traffic light to Oak Grove, because there are 2 in the parking lot.
Right.
What about backing up the no parking sign, not even from 20 feet, maybe to that easternmost curb cut up by the by Reed's property there. Just no parking here to corner, from here to corner, and make more of it unavailable. I know we're losing a couple prime parking spots on a prime Main Street location, but I have no other suggestions.
I don't, Nick, we talked earlier, but I don't agree with that. We're trying to save parking on Main Street. If it, honestly, that's the way I come out of my neighborhood. I won't go through Ed Young's because if I'm figure if I'm play those odds, I'm eventually going to get into an accident in that lot. And at Oak Grove, as long as you don't have somebody creep up behind you while you're making the left, so you can't back up because those two extra curb cuts and 4 Reed's lot screw up the gap.
Right.
If you try and make a left out of South Ellicott, you won't get a gap because the gap fills in by then by people coming out of Oak Grove or driveways or whatever when that light changes. So that's kind of your best bet. The safest bet, and this is what we've talked about all along, as a network, as a grid, how this is supposed to work in a busy village setting. It is tight. If it is unsafe for you or if you feel unsafe coming out of Ed Young's, Oak Grove, or South Ellicott, you drive up to Garrison and you make a left at the signal. That's the way these things work. That's the way it works in any tight situation. I do it all the time. It's way out of my way, quote unquote, to go up to Garrison and wait for a light. But if I'm leaving my house at 5:15 p.m. and I have to go head west on Main, I'm driving up to Garrison to make a left onto Garrison and then a left onto Main. It's just safer and it's smarter. And sometimes, most of the time, at those times of day, it's shorter. It takes less time.
You know, the other interesting thing here is that Reed's is not your typical business where, you know, it's a restaurant and there's strangers coming in all the time. It's a service business that has a lot of repeat customers. They have a regular customer base. And I'd be willing to bet that a lot of the people parking that close to that intersection are regular Reed's customers that are doing it on a very frequent basis. And so asking Reed's, now I know they're a business and they're not in the business of pissing off their customers, but asking them if they see repeat offenders doing this all the time to please don't do it. We've got a whole parking lot just 30 feet away with signs posted for our customers only. Please park there to drop off your dry cleaning. Don't park right at the corner. It's dangerous. Respect the neighborhood. You live in the village just like everybody else. Please, you know, take a little extra time, walk a couple extra steps. It's good for your heart. Do it and see if that gets any traction. I'm not convinced it will, but you could at least plant the seed and ask them to have the conversation.
Sounds like you're volunteering, Bill.
Have you seen how wrinkled my clothes are?
I like your thing.
No, I never noticed.
I'm more than willing to give it a try and do that. I like that thought.
I would approach Wendy. In fact, if I see her, I can't make any promises. I don't go there that often, but you know, we know if I do see her on a regular basis when I'm about to make a left and backing up and going forward and backing up and going forward and finally make one, but I do see her. So I could try.
At least that's a start. I think at day's end, you're looking at some form of enforcement, at least for the 20 feet. And that, I don't know this Wendy that you're talking about. Dan.
Wendy Reed.
Wendy Reed, yeah.
Figured it, yeah.
I don't know. That's her maiden name, but she hyphenates. I don't know what her other what her married name is. But anyway.
Most immediately, yeah, that maybe that does something. And yeah, and I'm against cutting out yet more parking on Main. Yeah, you do that there, you're going to see people demanding it elsewhere too. Other business owners, or not other business owners, other residents asking for the same relief. And it's ironic that here we are looking for more parking and discussing in at least 2 agenda items the possibility of
eliminating.
Well, when you think about it, the people that are complaining are residents, and they don't park on Main Street, okay?
Right.
The people who park on Main Street are customers or patrons of the business. So you have 2 different groups of people you're dealing with.
Right.
Okay.
I'm a customer of Reed's. I'll park on Main Street at times, and Oak Grove or in the parking lot.
I live right there, and I do it. Because I load up my dry cleaning on my way to work, and I pick it up on the way home.
Can, now, since we're on that, it's a little bit off the subject, but it's that immediate area. Something I noticed, there is, and I don't know, I should have taken a picture of the sign, but there are parking restrictions in front of that church for like 2 hours or whatever, and it's during the week. I don't understand why there would be a 2-hour parking or some type of parking limit. It's an odd thing, and I'm just for the next meeting sake, let's just say I'm going to look and see what that is, because it seemed funny to me that it should be that, because parking
Dan, I think it has to do with their nursery school. They run a nursery school out of that church.
Okay, but they don't run the nursery school all day. So I'm just gonna.
No, that's why it's a 2-hour thing.
Right, and so yeah, maybe it's a 2-hour thing, but that parking in there, I will tell you, with all the new businesses going in around there, and just the busier businesses, that whole area, and with Brightsmith, that whole area is jamming up with parking now. You cannot, they park as far as down near my house, almost to South Ellicott now. Parking is like New York City around here now. It is prime real estate. And that's what, that's the way it should be, right? That's the whole idea of this. You can't have a surviving village and not have it thrive with businesses and people and cars. It's just the way it is. So, it's a whole, I would bet it's 10 spots that are restricted every day, all day, to 2 hours. And if it's a daycare dropping off from at 9 and picking up at noon, why is that limited to 2 hours all day long? And that is one of the widest, I know for a fact, that is one of the widest streets in the village besides Main Street at the head of Oak Grove. And parking is restricted to 2 hours a day. So it might be something we want to explore. 2-hour parking until 1, and then whatever. Then it's no longer 2-hour parking after 1 p.m. when their daycare center is cleared out.
It's a nursery school, not daycare.
Or yeah, that's what I meant.
And they have two sessions, a morning and an afternoon. My kids all went there. Open door nursery school.
So if no one has a problem with that, I'll make the suggestion, but between now and the next meeting, to maybe put that on the agenda. We're searching for parking around Main Street, right? We could be gaining more than 2-hour parking spots for a half day every day.
Put it on the agenda. Let's go home.
You are home.
No, I'm at work. I'm in my office. I want to go home.
You can put it
I wanna
on
get
the
back
agenda
village.
for next time around.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into it tonight, but I'm just throwing it out there.
All right, yeah, thanks, Dan. There was one more item, and and Nick, I hope your neighbor at 79 Oak Grove, is okay with what we're trying to do most immediately.
I believe she will be, Wally. At the end of the day, I find her to be a very reasonable woman.
I think we're all sympathetic to it, but again, we've said it enough. It's an ongoing problem. It's a good and bad problem to have a thriving business district. So enough said. Eileen, you had one more item that I didn't note down, that number 3 on a list. And I don't have.
Now, where is it? Oh, was issue that a resident from Pasadena was curious why many signs throughout the village, either the lettering is damaged or you cannot read the names of the streets, or they're crooked, et cetera, et cetera. So she wanted to know if traffic and safety, or if I could look into it with traffic and safety, if we could go around the village and actually find the signs that do need to be corrected and do so. That's basically her request.
Sounds like a public works department issue.
That's what I thought too.
In her defense, the road sign for Pasadena is all the signage. The letters all are falling off. I know the sign she's probably talking about.
So that's why it's interesting. Well, that's
I'll take a
example.
I'll take a picture of it tomorrow when I walk the
other
woods.
street signs. Great.
Well,
All right.
I'll start taking note as I walk around the village for any other signs and call the appropriate attention of DPW or whatever. I trust that'll answer that resident's question enough, Eileen.
Yes.
Yeah, and I encourage the rest of the committee to do likewise on, as I like to sometimes say, strolling or meandering through the village. Look at the street signs. Though I suspect we all can recite from memory the streets without looking at the signs. So, that's the last item on a rather long night for our newbies. I'd like to say, let's go to the very last item on the agenda and see when we meet next, and then adjourn. If everybody's okay with that.
Sure.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to meet next month? And if I may, for the benefit of all, I'd like any agenda items 3 or 4 days in advance. And you can email me so I can throw them on, but then that hopefully gives everybody a chance to look at the situation before the meeting itself. So keep that in mind.
And the state law says that they should be out 72 hours before the meeting anyway, so you can preface it with that.
Okay, you've already prefaced it then, but at a minimum 3 or 4 days, yes. so I can alert everybody, and if there's something, yeah, really, something that we should be looking at and going there, yeah, we can have at least a little time to do so. With that, yeah, November, usually we meet the first Thursday in November. I don't have a calendar handy.
That would be the 5th, Wally.
I'd like to see us take 1 month off in betwixt and between. So either the first Thursday in November or the first Thursday in December as the next meeting. Any?
Well, that
Yeah.
sounds good to me. The one thing I think, when we're going to get into these issues that we need plans and need more documentation and more communications, more emails, we need to have all that stuff, okay? Just don't call the mayor and say, hey, I want a stop sign at Pasadena. There's more to it than that, okay?
And Wally, getting back to the meat of the meeting about those 2 driveways on North Ellicott, if we don't meet till December, will that be a done deed by then, possibly?
Yeah,
I don't know how quickly they're going to proceed with the construction.
Yeah, I don't know when. Yeah, again, we were only asked, as I understand it, and I don't want to get back into that.
Right.
We were only asked about the no parking.
Okay.
You know, for that reason alone, maybe asking Tim or Keaton, somebody, to send you at least a copy of the final plans that I think were referenced in the June 3rd or June 5th 2019 planning board minutes. Yeah, we could, one of those guys could send them to us, and we could look at it next month. I don't know when it's next on, say, the village board agenda. Yeah. And I suspect you don't either, Eileen.
I don't, no.
That might be a reason to try and get it done for, in November.
That's fine. Let's just plan.
You know, and I would anticipate that it would be sent via email to every one of us to look over.
Okay.
So if you want, November 5th then.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And I'll follow up and see, and make sure that all the members get a copy of at least the site plan. Yeah, the final site plan. And anything that might be relevant to that as well, okay?
Very good.
So we're set on November 5th at 7 o'clock then, everyone?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Once again, thank you for joining us, Debbie and Christine and Eileen. I think you've learned that there are a goodly number of people on this committee with a hell of a lot of knowledge, generalized on traffic control and whatever else. And I'm deeply grateful for their knowledge and expertise. So, welcome to the committee. Hopefully in the future you all will share in your knowledge and of traffic and safety.
Oh, yeah.
And you learn quick.
Yeah, I guess. Just listening tonight, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
What was the November
Good,
date
thank
again?
you.
5, November 5th.
Cool. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a good
Good night. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Motion
Thanks.
adjourned.
Oh, meeting adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn?
You got a motion to adjourn.
Second from Joe.
Okay.
All in favor?
Over now.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, at this point. I think you home, friend?